Hi guys, just going to make a quick video around 30 minutes of all the sort of level 2 questions that you might be asked. So I'm going to go through about 30 of the level 2 topics and just go through the questions, and hopefully it will help you with your revision for the exam. Okay, let's get started. So just quickly before we go through, if we're talking about the exam, obviously we need 33 marks to pass. There's 60 marks on a paper. You have an hour and 45 to complete the exam. That means that you've got about 1 minute 45, or about 2 minutes per question, per mark. Okay, so just quickly to go through, when you're working through the exam, make sure you just follow these 5 steps. Make sure you read the question and think to yourself, what is the topic that actually this question is asking me about? That does actually help a lot. It unlocks sort of part of the brain that's going to actually help you answer the question. Underline the important parts, so any keywords, anything in bold, any numbers that are in the question, especially when it says worded questions, can be very beneficial. Is there a button on the calculator that can help? Can you use the fraction button? Can you use the time button to help you with that question? Make sure you do show some working out, and ultimately just make sure you answer every question. We only need 33 out of 60 to pass. Make sure you're trying to get 1 and 2 marks on every single question. Okay. Right, so first of all, we're going to look at reading and ordering numbers. So here the question is, which of the following is the largest amount? So you've got minus 17, you've got minus 586. They're two quite small, so we can probably rule those out straight away. So we've got 179 and 2 times 10 squared. Well, 10 squared, remember, is 10 times 10, which is 100. So 2 times 100 is going to be 200, so that's going to be 200. So if we put these in order, this one's going to be our largest number. Okay, multiplying and dividing. Okay, this is something a lot of us find quite tricky, so let's quickly go through these. So here we've got, I'm multiplying 531 by 1.4. So again, I'll go back to my grid. So using my grid method, which I like to use, I'm going to split up 531 into 530 and 1. And I'm going to split the 1.4 up into 1 and 0.4. Okay, top row, nice and straightforward. 500 times 1, 30 times 1, and 1 times 1. Okay, that's just timesing each of these together. The next one is going to be 500 times 0.4. So 500 times 0.4. Well, what we can do is we can actually block this off. That's 0 point there. And we can also block off 1 0. So you can take a 0 from the beginning and a 0 from the end. Makes things a little bit easier for us. So 500, so 50 times 4, that's going to be 200. Okay, 3 times 4, again we can box this 0 off and box this 0 off. So now it's 3 times 4, which is 12. And then now, we can't box off this 0 now because this one hasn't got a 0 to balance it out. So it's just 0.4 times 1, which is going to be 0.4. Now, we're going to add all these together. 500 plus 200 plus 30 plus 12 plus 1 plus 0.4. Add all these together. Gives us, you got the 4 at the end. 0, 1 and 2 is 3. 3 and 1 is 4. 5 and 2 is 7. So 743.4. And for your division, we've got 672, so the number that we're dividing goes inside the bus stop, and the 21 goes outside the bus stop. We might not know our 21 times tables, so I'm just going to write a few of them out. So 21, adding 21 each time, 42, 63, 84. Okay, that's probably going to be enough. We're only going up to 67. Okay, so 21 into 6 doesn't go. 21 into 67, so put these two together to make it 67. So we've got 21, 42, 63. So that gets us to 63, so that's 3. And we've got a remainder, because we're trying to get to 67, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67. So we've got a remainder of 4. Put that with the 2 to make 42. And then 21 into 42 is 2. So our answer there, 32. Okay. Order of operations, which is BIDMAS. Remember, brackets indices, divide, multiply, add, and subtract. So we've got indices here, that's your powers. So we're going to do 8, take away the power there, 4 squared, remember that means 4 times 4, which is 16, over 8. Then we've got, so that's our indices done. We've then got to do divide. So 8 divided by 8 is 1. 8 divided by 16 is 2. So we're left with 1 take 2. So 1, if you're starting at 1 and you're taking 2 away, that takes you down to minus 1. So you have to be very careful there. It's 1 take away 2, not 2 take away 1. Our final answer there, minus 1. So estimation to check calculations with numbers. So there's 2 times you might see this. There might be a question in the exam that just says, use estimation to check your answer. Okay, all you want to do is a very simple thing we're doing here. We look at the numbers, and again, we're seeing this word approximate here. If you see the word approximate or estimate, we're going to be doing this thing. We're going to be rounding the numbers. Okay, so you have to pick appropriately how you're going to round. Usually it's going to be nearest 10, 100, 1,000, or nearest whole 1. So here we're going to round to the nearest 10. So 29 becomes 30, 24 becomes 20, and 41 becomes 40. Now we have to find the volume. So the volume of a cuboid is length times width times height. Okay, our length here, 40, times the width, 20, times the height, 30. Okay, pop that all into your calculator, or even without a calculator, you might be able to do this one. So 40 times 20 times 30, and that gives us 24000. Okay, so if you were doing it without a calculator, 2 times 4 is 8, 8 times 3 is 24, and each of these has a 0 on it, so add 3 zeros at the end. So 24,000. Ordering decimals. So again, when I'm ordering my decimals, I'm just going to write them all out. So I'm just going to pick the top one. I'm going to write out all 3 of them on top of each other. 8, 2, 7. Keeping the digits as on top of each other as I can. 0, 0, 9, 5. And then just by looking at them, well, that top one, if I was to take the 0 away, that would be 1013. If I took the zeros away, that would be 827. If I took the zeros away, that's going to be 95. So therefore, this is my smallest, and then that's the next one, and then 1030 is my biggest. So if I look here, D goes 0.95, 827, 1013. So that is going to be the list from smallest, increasing order, smallest to biggest. Okay. This one, make substitutions in given formula and symbols. So the key thing here, here's our formula. 4 pi r squared. Okay, the key thing is, remember that between each number and symbol we have a multiplication. 4 times pi times r squared. That's really key. When you've got these formulas, you need to make sure that you remember there's a times between each one. So now we're just going to use our calculator to work this out. 4, which says is 4 because it's just a whole number. Pi, it's telling us, is 3.142. And then r is telling us, r is the radius, and it measures 3 centimeters. 3 squared. So again, put this all together. 4 times 3.142 times by 3 squared is going to give us 113.112, and then it says round to the nearest centimetre squared. So to the nearest centimetre squared, it's going to be 113. So here we go. There we go. Next one. Convert between fractions, decimals, and percentages. So we tried to learn a fifth, a quarter, a half, a tenth, and a third. Over here. So remember, a fifth, 0.20, 20%. A quarter, 0.25, 25%. A half, 0.50, 50%. A tenth, 0.10, 10%, and a third is 0.3333. Remember, it recurs, so it keeps going on, and that's 33.333%. Okay, so that'll help us out here. When I'm comparing, I always try and make mine into decimals. So I know that a fifth here, so 1/5, that's going to be 0.20. 0.05, that's always a decimal, so I'm happy with that. 17 out of 50, whenever we get a fraction and we're not sure how to convert it into a decimal, try and make that bottom number into 100. So I've got 17 over 50 here. I'm going to try and make the denominator, the bottom number, into 100. I can do that by timesing the whole lot by 2. That gives me 34 over 100, which I can make into a decimal, 0.34. So now I've got 0.20, 0.34, 0.15, and 0.05. So I'm going in decreasing order. So that means I'm starting with the biggest. So it looks to me like 0.34 is my biggest. So straight away I can look down, find out where 17 over 50 is, which is here. So then I can check. So that's our 0.34, 0.20, 0.15, and 0.05. So that is going to be my order from biggest to smallest. Okay, adding and subtracting, comparing fractions, amounts, and mixed numbers. So without a calculator, when I'm working this out, what I do is I take the 2 and the 3, the whole numbers, I add them together and I just put them to the side here. So I'll keep that to the side for the minute. Then I'm going to use our method to add these fractions. Again, we multiply the bottom 2, so it's our cross smiley face. That gives us 8. 1 times 4 is 4. 2 times 3 is 6. We add those together, gives us 10 over 8, which we can simplify down by dividing by 2 to 5 over 4. This is an improper fraction, so we need to make it into a mixed number. We do that. We look how many 4s go into 5, which is 1. And the remainder is 1 over 4, 1/4 left over. Now I'm going to bring back this 5. So 5 plus 1 and 1/4. That gives me 6 and 1/4, which is C. Using the calculator, so on your calculator you have this button here. If you look here, we've got our fraction button. Okay, using that fraction button, we can actually work out how to add fractions. If we want to use a mixed number in that, if you look above that, there's another in yellow, we've got, it looks like a mixed number there. To access that, you click Shift first, and then you use that mixed number button. Okay, so then all you're going to do is you're going to start with by pressing Shift, and then your mixed number button, and then you're going to put in 1 and 3/8. You're going to go across, so 1, then you press across, 3, and down, then 8, and then you need to press across again, so you get the icon nice, the size of the fraction in the middle of them. Then we're going to add, you press Shift, and your fraction button again, which is going to give you your mixed number. Then we're going to put 3, and then going across, 9, then down, then 16, equals. And what that's going to give you is 79 over 16. Okay, we've got an improper fraction again. If we're using the calculator, we can just press Shift again, and then this SD button, if you look above it, it's got a little, in yellow, it says mixed number to improper fraction. Okay, so if we press Shift and SD on that 79 over 16, that's going to give us our final answer, which is 4 and 15 over 16. Okay, so try that yourself. Try putting it into a calculator and see if we can get to that end point. Okay, so remember it's Shift and then your fraction button if you're trying to put a mixed number in. And then when your final answer, if it's an improper fraction, if you press Shift and then SD, that's going to turn it into a mixed number for you. Okay, 42% of 400. So always returning back to finding 10%. So you always find 10% first. Remember, put your point at the end, move it 1 back. So 10% is 40. And I need 4 of those to make 40%. So I'm just going to go around the houses and write these all out. Okay, and then I need 1%. To get 1% from 10%, divide that by 10 again. So 1% is going to be 4. 1% is 4 again. And then to get 42%, I'm going to add it all together. So I've got 4 and 4 is 8. 4, 8, 12, 16. 168. Okay, so you can use this method for any percentage. Find 10%, find 1%. Use the combinations to find your percentage. Okay, so percentage increase and decrease. So a secretary needs to order 8 boxes of paper clips. Each box is £7.67. The table below shows the discount offered on large orders. So how much will the secretary have to pay? So the first thing we need to find is the total of the cost. So that's going to be 8 times 7.67. Let's work that out. Which is £61.36. And that falls into the 55 to 79.99 category. So she's going to get a 6.5% discount. So this is going to be, so we need to work out 6.5% of this, which is going to be 6.5. Again, you need to use that percentage button on your calculator. So if you go back to our calculator here, the percentage button is shift, and then at the bottom here, if you look in the yellow, we've got the percentage symbol, shift and then ands, and that allows us to put a percentage into our calculator. So 6.5, shift and then ands gives you the percentage symbol. And then you multiply that by £61.36, which is going to give us 3.9884. So that's our discount. So now we're going to take the discount off. So we've got 61.36 take away 3.9884. Which is going to give us 57.3716, which if we're talking about money, is going to be £57.37. Okay, express one amount as a percentage of another. So you've got your percentage sheet that's got all your percentage stuff. So make sure you look at that before you go to the exam. Make sure you look at your percentage sheet. Got the work through here. So divide the desired number by the total number and then multiply by 100. So the measurement that it's becoming is 32 millimeters wide. Okay, this is 8.9 centimeters, which we need to convert to millimeters. It's going to be, remember, 10 millimeters is the same as 1 centimeter. So this is going to be times by 10, 89. Okay, so reducing from 89 to 32. So we divide our desired number, 32, divided by the total number, 89, and that gives us 0.35955 and so on. And then step 2, multiply that by 100. So that gives us 0.35955 and so on, multiplied by 100, gives us 35.95%. So the photograph is 35.95 or 36% of the original photo. Okay, percentage change. Again, if you read through the question, pause and read through the question if you need to. And here's our explanation. Here's our method. So find the difference between the numbers. Divide the difference from the original value, okay, the from or where we started, and multiply by that 100 to get the percentage. So the difference between the two numbers is going to be 11649, take away 11193, which is 456. So that's the first step, the difference between the two. Divide the difference by the original value. So this is going to be 456 divided by the original value from last year, 11193. which gives us 0.0407 and so on. And then step 3, we multiply that by 100. So let's put 0.0407 ... multiplied by 100, and that gives us 4.07%. So if we're comparing, nationally, the increase was 8%, and locally, the increase was 4%. So in the answer, the chairperson will write that locally, it has only increased by 4%, which is less than nationally, which has increased by 8%. Okay, finding the original value. So the key word here, when we're looking for the original value, is this word here, before. If you see in the exam, and it's talking about percentages, and it mentions this word before, then we have to use this method, which is the percentage change original value, okay, which is these 3 steps. You add the percentage increase to 100. So it's been increased, the value has been increased by 20%, okay? The value itself is 100%. It's 20% tax has been added, so this value is actually 120% of the value of the phone. It's 100% plus the 20% VAT added. So we need to work out what 100. We need to try and get back to this 100%. To do that, we add the percentage increase to 100. So it's 20% increase. So we add that to 100, gives us 120%. We divide the quantity by your 100 plus 20. So the quantity, which currently that's the price, so it's 240 divided by 120, which is 2. Okay, the value now divided by the current percentage, which is 2, and then we're going to multiply that to get the original value. So it's going to be 2 times by 100, because that's what we're trying to get back to. We're trying to get back to 100%, and that gives us 200. So the original price of the phone before the VAT we added was £200. Okay. Compound interest then. So this is the last bit of percentage, but it's a little bit tricky. So a man has £5,000. He will put his money into a savings account in a bank. He wants to save it for another year, for 1 year. Bank A, pays 2% compound interest, and it adds it every 6 months. Bank B pays 3.15 annual interest rate. So that means this is paid at the end of 1 year, and this is paid every 6 months over the year. Okay. So for compound interest, we add the interest. So it's a formula really we learn for this, and it's the same every time. So whenever we're dealing with compound interest, we always do the same thing into our calculator. Add the interest rate to 100. So the interest rate is 2%. So it's going to be 102. So type the quantity. The quantity is 5,000. Multiplied by 102%. And then the third part, which is a bit confusing, type the number of time periods as a power. So it's keeping it in for 1 year, and it's going to be added, the interest is going to be added every 6 months. So that's 2 time periods. So it's 5,000 times 102% to the power of 2, because it's 2 time periods. If it was 4 time periods, you put to the power of 4. If it was 5 time periods, you put to the power of 5. Okay, so that's going to give us, over the year, he's going to get 5,000 times 102%, maybe using that shift and your ands button to get the percentage symbol up, to the power of 2. So at the end of the year, with Bank A, he's going to have £5,202. Okay, that's compound interest. The method's always the same. The quantity multiplied by the percentage, it's gone up, so 102%. We've added 2% to 100, and then the number of time periods, which is usually years. So if it's over 3 years or 4 years, this number increases. Then equals, and it gives us how much money he'll have from Bank A. Bank B, regular annual interest. We just work out the percentage, which is 3.15%. So shift ands times by the value. So 3.15% multiplied by 5,000. That gives us 157.5. So that's how much interest he's going to make. Then we add that on to our 5,000. And that's going to give us £5,175.50. So we can see here clearly that Bank A is better, the compound interest option is better because he's got more money. Okay, so these are all the calculations we need to write to support our decision. Okay, ratio. There's two types of ratio questions. One is total, where you're given a total value and you need to share it between 2 or 3 parties. The other part is a part ratio question. So the total ratio, when you get a total ratio, it's 3 steps. Step 1, you add all the ratios together. So how you can spot it's a total ratio is because we've got a value, a total here, you're sharing it between 3 people. This is called a total ratio. Then we add the ratio. So the first thing we do is add our ratios together. So 5 plus 4 plus 1, which is 10. Step 2 is we divide the quantity by the ratios, the total of the ratios. So the quantity is 395, and the total of the ratios is 10. So 395 divided by 10, which is 39.5 or £39.50. The third part is we multiply that. So 39.50, we multiply that by the person we're looking for. Here, we're looking for Millie. And Millie, because she is the second name along, she's the second number along, so she's 4. So 39.50 times by 4 gives us 158. So Millie gets 158 pounds. Okay. If we were looking for Anya, we would multiply by 5. If we were looking for Daisy, we'd multiply by 1. But for this situation, we're looking for Millie. She's the second name. She's the second number. We multiply by 4. When you're given a part of the ratio, what that means is it's telling us one part of the ratio. So the apprentice hairdresser measures out 75 millilitres of developer. If we look at our ratios, it's saying the ratio of hair colour to developer. So it's telling us the developer part for this high lift shades. The developer is 75 millilitres. And we need to work out how much hair colour she needs. So we've got one part of the ratio and we need to find the other. To do this, we divide the quantity that we've got by the ratio that corresponds to. So the developer corresponds to 75, and that's 1.5. So do 75 divided by 1.5, which is 50. And then to get the other part, you multiply what we have here by the other part of the ratio. So it's going to be 50 multiplied by 1, which is 50, and that's our answer. Okay, so it's important we're able to spot the difference between the two types of ratio question, the total ratio and the part given ratio. Okay, once that's done, you can then decide which steps to take in order to answer it. Okay.